Have you ever wondered what you would do if you were on a remote trail and suddenly encountered something completely out of the ordinary? A simple hike can turn into a terrifying experience, where the boundaries of reality are tested with every step. Sometimes, even the most peaceful trails hide mysteries that make us question our own safety. And no matter how much we try to rationalize, the presence of the unknown can spark overwhelming fear, forcing us to make unexpected decisions. This, of course, is not for everyone. But what about you? How would you react if you came across something you couldn't explain? Believe me, the answer could completely change the way you approach your outdoor adventures. Phil, known for his hiking adventures, shared a disturbing experience during Thanksgiving 2021. He was hiking the Appalachian Trail in Virginia when he came across a series of strange notes scattered throughout the area. Upon reading the papers, he found cryptic poems, conspiracy theories, and biographical accounts that seemed to suggest something dangerous. Many times, the quietest trails hide mysteries that make us question our own safety. And like Phil, curiosity can lead us to unexpected places, but caution should be our ally when danger is imminent. As he continued his hike, Phil stumbled upon a suspicious campsite. He decided to move forward, avoiding any confrontation. Phil's experience reminds us that, in some situations, it's wiser to keep our distance. When faced with the unknown, the decision to move on without engagement may be the safest option. Sometimes we don't need to investigate everything, especially when the signs point to something potentially dangerous. However, the strangest part occurred when Phil entered a shelter and found the same style of writing in the logbook. The words, mentioning theories about federal agents and grave robbery, heightened the tension even more. Sometimes, the smallest details, like repeated writing, can be clues to something much bigger. It's like when you notice a pattern in something that initially seemed unrelated. Your intuition should alert you. As Phil tried to process the notes, he found a dead duck nearby. The animal was lying there in an unsettling way, and Phil didn't know if it had been killed by the same person who wrote the notes. The proximity of both things made the situation even stranger. This kind of encounter in nature may be more than just a coincidence. Sometimes, the signs we ignore could be warnings of what's to come. The unease intensified when two women approached and warned Phil about an imminent danger. They spoke of an unstable man responsible for killing animals and leaving the mysterious notes. Here, the lesson is clear. Listening to warnings from those who have already experienced something similar can be vital. Recognizing risk and understanding when it's time to leave a situation before it escalates into something more dangerous is crucial. With this warning in mind, Phil decided to leave the area. His choice to move on without getting further involved shows that, in some moments, the best action is simply to retreat. When the environment or the people around us signal danger, the safest path is often the most cautious one. After leaving the area, Phil headed to a shelter, and, while flipping through the logbook, he was met with another surprise. The same handwriting from the notes was there, detailing theories about captivity and conspiracies involving federal agents. This discovery made Phil even more uneasy. Many times, we come across patterns that connect us to something much bigger than we initially imagined. The logbook, once again, teaches us that we must pay attention to details and recurring information, as they could be the key to understanding what is really happening. Reading through the logbook also revealed that the author had been imprisoned, adding an even more unsettling layer to the mystery. Sometimes what we find are not just documents, but clues to a story being woven, one involving incarceration and paranoid theories. However, the real issue was the growing sense that something was wrong, something out of place. And that alone was enough to make Phil more alert than ever. Phil then decided to leave the shelter. The writing in the logbook served as a reminder that we should always be aware of our surroundings, the clues the environment provides, and understand that things are not always what they seem. Instinct and a careful reading of situations can save us. Gaz had a disturbing experience in April 2023 when a man named Martin showed up at his campsite asking for food and water. While talking, Gaz discovered that Martin had a history of self-destruction linked to drug abuse. In situations like this, knowing how to identify danger signs is essential. Gaz quickly realized that Martin's presence was not something to take lightly and felt a growing sense of unease. Sometimes, our intuition warns us when something isn't right, and it's crucial to listen to it to avoid potential trouble. When Gaz decided to leave the campsite, the worry about Martin lingered. The thought that he might return with malicious intentions hovered in the air. This type of situation teaches us that constant vigilance is necessary, especially when alone or in an isolated environment. Safety should always be the top priority, and we must never underestimate the risks posed by someone with ill intentions. Gaz also left a trail camera behind, which later disappeared, confirming that Martin most likely had bad intentions. The lesson here is clear: never underestimate anyone and stay alert, even in seemingly peaceful moments. Our awareness might be the only defense against the unexpected. Now that you've heard these stories, I ask you, what would you do if you found yourself in such terrifying situations? Would you freeze in fear, or would you act quickly to protect yourself? The knowledge you've gained here could be the key to ensuring you're always prepared, no matter what happened. Don't ignore the signs around you, and remember, confidence and caution must go hand in hand. If you want to keep learning how to stay safe on your adventures and always be one step ahead, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. The next story might be even more shocking.